Dear students, this week we did a wonderful podcast practice session. We took a socially hot topic, a politically hot topic, a economically hot topic, jumbled it all into one, technically hot topic, everything, and we said, let's take a personal attitudes survey. So we took a survey to look at how people feel, the public feels about a socially hot topic. Why this is important? Well, as we looked at in this example, this was important for John Lewis when they decided to come out with a gender-neutral clothing line for children. Now, in retrospect, we know that many companies have followed suit. But in order to understand how John Lewis arrived at the decision, we went through what a company would do internally to both discuss how decision makers feel about it and crucially discuss public opinion polls. And to that end, not only did we take one, but we also looked at websites that are wonderful references for public opinion polls. If you want to see what the public feels, for example, go to Euromonitor and look up the kind of issues you're interested in, or yougov.co.uk, and you can see data about the United Kingdom. How do people feel about recycling, for example? Well, this becomes crucial if a company is going to implement some strategy and not just promote that they're a green company, but actually do something to engage its customers. Do they have some way for people to return used products? Do they have some mechanism for people to recycle there on the premises? Now, those are seemingly uncontroversial topics, and that's why I mention it, because in your podcast, you want to pick a topic that's hot, that has contested views, contested both in terms of what it means for society and social norms, but also, as the John Lewis example shows, what it means for business practices. And you can imagine that it was very bold when they even announced that they would do this. Now, why was this important? Attitudes. We think about how our customers would respond to such a product. Because remember, there are those who would say, hey, this is a step too far. I'm going to avoid that company at all costs. So now they're saying they're going to have people reside from their consumers. Or you have, on the other side, a group of people who may say, you know what, I like where they're going. I'm actually more attracted to this brand. And that brings about a few issues, both in terms of marketing, because we know marketing is not about saying our product is great, but it's saying that our company brand is wonderful and you'd like to be associated with us. But how do you take such a risk without a proper assessment? And again, so public attitudes are really important and they're crucial when we think about, as we frame this discussion within the cultural iceberg. We can see what people do on the surface. They buy our product, they shop at our place, or they don't. But just underneath the surface are these attitudes. How do people feel about these different hot topics? Now, the core of it is the values. And this is where the gender neutral clothing becomes a really interesting one, and one to look at within the context of the cultural iceberg. So if the attitudes about gender are very much informed by personal experience, by religion, region, time, all these things that we looked at in the survey, and you can go through and look at how the detailed questions really look at and attempt to demonstrate these very visible cultural differences that we see in society. And when John Lewis measures this, they of course will take a step to say, well, okay, well, if this is something that's contested, what will people agree on, even if they have different attitudes about this issue? And so then you start talking about the core values. And so why gender neutral? Well, according to the rest of the seminar that we went through, there are studies that link the ways that we teach girls to be girls and boys to be boys to actual spatial recognition skills. So, we give boys Legos and toys that help them manipulate objects in space to see big, small. And we give girls soft ones. Now, it's not to knock that these differences are inherently bad, because we certainly say that there are different skill sets learned. And again, if you were in this seminar, hint, attendance is important, you were able to see the clip from BBC's No More Boys and Girls at School that talked us through the impact of these different ways that we socialize boys and girls. And so the ways that we socialize boys end up teaching boys these spatial recognition skills that are the basis for math and therefore the basis of science. Imagine, as I gave the example in the seminar, if you are a boy and you have a little toy car and you're rushing it across the room, you're learning force, time, speed, all of these things. So when you get to physics class and you go to the lab, you're already 10 steps ahead. If you spend a lot of time playing video games and learning, again, spatial recognition, you're already steps ahead in terms of those disciplines. And so if we want to build a more inclusive society, we know that we can't just order people to integrate and have quotas in the workplace. We know that we really need to hit those core values of fairness. And again, value, that's the value that regardless of your attitude about a gender neutral clothing or about even the word feminism we explored, but we share the core value of fairness. And so in coming out with such a product, they're appealing to a wide base of their consumers and saying, we're a fair company. Isn't that something that you'd adore? Right. So I say that this was also a rehearsal for the podcast. In the seminar, as you took the surveys, you explored different attitudes, and then you were charged with the activity of lobbying. This was the second skill that you were meant to learn and rehearse yesterday. Again, that's why attendance is important. So you lobbied for your opinions. You tried to gain alliances with your colleagues. You tried to shift their opinions because you couldn't build an alliance with someone whom you disagreed with. And so therefore we learned and empowered ourselves in personal bargaining through lobbying. We again saw the importance of building alliances, because imagine if this is the topic that your group of employees is charged with making, how you feel about this issue does matter. And so then again, if you can imagine being a part of the management team that's discussing this, wouldn't you find it useful to have the 6 thinking caps and say, let's lay our cards on the table and think through all the different ways that people think about gender and gender neutral clothing in today's world. That was a different management tool that we explored last time, and in another video we'll walk through all the different ways that the previous seminar was, again, a rehearsal for the assignment, for the podcast assignment, but also crucially linked to these work-based skills that you get to learn right from the get-go in your first year. See you next time. I've enjoyed these first few weeks with you. You're such an engaging cohort. Study on.